Welcome to another season of Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship with Ariel Shaw. I am your host for season 4 of Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship podcast. We want to increase your bottom line and create generational wealth that lasts way beyond you. It's 2024, the year of reinvention and domination. Our 2024 media participants include Kenya Simmons of Kenya Simmons Real Estate and T&J Industries Development and Contracting. Also, Monique Gibson of Our Rising Angels Personal Care Home LLC, Miss Demetria Winters of Black Butterfly Queens Life Coaching, Yvette D of Best Services Unlimited LLC, Mica Williams of the Mica Williams State Farm Agency, and Alicia Williams of the Dazzling Diva Collection. Thank you for joining Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship with Ariel Shaw, MBA. This is Ariel Shaw of Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship. I am the founder and president of Southern Crescent Women in Business, and we have the distinct pleasure of having Miss Yvette D, the IRS problem solver today. We are talking all things taxes and finances. Miss Yvette D has been in the accounting field since 1989, a 4-time best-selling author, IRS Enrolled Agent, and certified tax coach. And let's listen up.
Okay.
All right. So we want to know more about what's happening now with the tax. What do we need to know as it relates to taxes? Anything related? I know there were some things that were carried on from COVID. What do we need to know now as it relates to taxes?
Okay, so first up, April 15th is tax day, and tax day is for people who owe. Yes, for people that owe. So if you think that you are going to owe on your tax return, you are going to file an extension. Please make some type of payment with the extension. Do not file a zero extension because that may not be held up as valid. We had some revenue rulings about these zero extensions. So if you think that you have a balance due, please file some type of funds with the extension when you file it. Also, this May 17th is the last day that someone who did not file their 2020 tax return can file it and claim their refund. IRS has just went out. It's like 942,000 people who did not file 2020 returns for whatever reason. And also that they have like $1.6 billion. So
Wait. There's a list of people who didn't file?
no, they didn't have a list. They just said they just feel is an estimate of 942,000 people who did not file returns. They have this $1.6 billion. So if you didn't, we all know that there was one person in Oregon that hit that 1.3 billion lottery. So this is your next chance. If you didn't file your 2020 returns, please make sure to do it by May 17th, because that was the first year we were getting the $600, the $1,200, the next year be 2021 with that recovery credit that was $1,400. And those years are big because in 2021, you didn't even have to have income. You basically, if you were single and had kids, you was able to file with the zero income and still take part of getting, if it was available for that $1,400 or any, like, because you was able to use your income from 2019 to get earned income credit and or child tax credit. So these 2 years, 2020 and 2021, are huge for people who did not file their returns. There was a lot of free money. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of that. So sometimes people didn't file their returns in 2020 because they didn't, a lot of people were not working, but did not realize also in 2020, they were using the 2019 income to make you eligible for earned income credit, the child tax credit. So yeah, there's a lot of money out there between these next 2 years. So May 17th is the cutoff for the 2020. After that, you lose your refund. And people need to realize if you have a refund, you have 3 years to claim that refund. So tax day is for people who owe.
All right. Awesome. Now, as it relates to, I know some of the tax laws change for the businesses, or we lost some of that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, right now, we're still waiting for the bill that we thought was going to pass in January, that's still out there on the Senate calendar for this change in the child tax credit. Was supposed to be the refundable part was supposed to go from $1,600 to $1,800. And the big thing for businesses is, like, right now, we're in depreciation and everything is at 80%. They're supposed to bring back this 100% depreciation, which was huge, because when they had this 100%, everybody was advocating to buy new cars and write them off all at one time. So people were happy about that. So they're hoping that they bring this back so they can, and it's all retroactive. So when that bill takes part, I'm not sure about the businesses having to amend their returns. They may have to, but people who have this enhancement in the child tax credit will not have to. The IRS is gonna be a part in the bill for the IRS to take care of that. So that's the two major things people are waiting for. But for businesses, I mean, we still got all the tax laws that been in place since 2018. It is really a good time to have a business. Basically all the stars align for businesses to flourish under this new tax laws that Trump brought in. And the fact that people really is like really in their minds of putting that man back in the office. So I don't know. I just don't know how that's gonna go.
Listen, we disclaimer, we are not advocating for that.
There's I don't know. I'm thinking I'm in Twilight Zone when I hear that.
Yeah.
When
so
I hear that, I'm thinking I'm in the Twilight Zone.
Let me say this. So there were tax laws that were placed on the books from the previous administration. We'll say that. We ain't gonna say no names. And then, as it relates to being able to take advantage of some of those, we still have a lot of those in place. Is basically.
Yes, and those tax laws will not change until the tax year of 2026, because 2026 is when we file the 2025 tax returns. So 2026 will be the first time it will be available for us to change any of the tax laws again, if that becomes the case.
But right now, for small businesses, it has been very beneficial. Would you say?
Very, very, and still is.
Now, Yvette, we're moving into financial literacy month, and we briefly hit on women and investing. There needs to be a whole segment for that, but you did something very unique that I thought, wow, let's talk about that. You paid off your house in 5 years.
Yeah.
I have heard where people have paid off their homes in 15 years, even 10. But I've never heard of 5 years. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, okay, so the idea for this 5-year pay down came for the fact that I was working on a job and I wanted to get off of the job. That was the fuel behind it.
So you were still in corporate America and you wanted to transition
I was a controller of a $20 million budget, but I also had the tax company. I mean, I was on this job 15 years. 13 of those years, I was still had my own practice doing taxes. So I was just like, as the company started to just keep growing, and then let's think. So I started, when it really hit me, I had started this pay down in 12. I was doing a little bit at a time. So I was paying the mortgage bi-weekly out of my paycheck. My husband was matching it with a payment going directly to the principal. But that was all we was doing. We wasn't even, I had business funds. I wasn't putting anything in it. When I went to get
hold on 1 second. So you had a bi-weekly, so you were paying twice a month. And then you were saying that your husband matched it. So does that mean it was a total of 4 payments going towards the mortgage?
Well, okay, so when you pay it bi-weekly, because most people are paid, 26 paychecks. So that would actually give you an extra payment per year. What we were doing was basically doubling down. So whatever the payment was I was making bi-weekly, my husband was making the same mortgage payment directly to the principal. That's how it started. Then when 2015, 2014, I decided to go back to school to get my MBA. When I graduated in 15, it was like, say, December. January 16, I was writing a book. In 16, the book literally just took a life of itself. It was written for people who were using TurboTax to do better doing taxes, because they were the people I said was my summer projects. They used to always come to the office with those magic white letters from the IRS. So I said, if I write this book, they could do better, but it just took a life of itself. I wrote the book and it had the opposite effect. They were all coming to the office. So at that point, I was like, okay, look, we need to do something else because I need to get free. And I was not leaving my full-time job while I had a mortgage. That was a non-negotiable. So then I started taking pieces of my business revenue and throwing it into the mix. So probably like so we paid it off December of 17. So probably 16 and 17, I was just putting chunks of my business income on top of the biweekly payments and the payment that was being made directly to the principal. But the chunks of money that I was putting, all of it was going to the principal. So my paycheck, straight payments. The chunks of money, straight to the principal. And that's how we had that 5-year pay down. We started in 12, we bought the house in 12, we paid it off in December 17.
That is wild. Let me ask you this.
Oh, wait, before you ask that question,
Okay.
I do want to do it with the disclaimer, because people would think, then they wasn't doing nothing, they was suffering. I'm telling you, 2014, I went to Dubai. 2016, I went to Egypt. They know I travel a lot. I did not stop doing anything that I love to do.
Come on now.
It's on love. I just stopped doing the stuff I like to do, like buy red bottom shoes and all that stuff. I stopped doing all that for a time, but that was only 60 months. Think about the time that people take to buy a car, you could pay off your whole house.
So, okay, this is, let me ask you this. What was the mortgage, lender's response to what you guys were doing? Because, the when people extend lines of credit, the benefit of that is, okay, the interest. And this is the amount of money that I plan on making off of this, extension. They could not have been happy about that. Talk to me a little bit about that.
No, the person who wrote my loan actually called me and was like, oh, I see you was making substantial payments too. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to get a rental property? They started calling me to give me HELOCs, on home equity lines of credit, and loans, high equity loans, to take money out of my equity. Like, hey, are you doing this pay down because you might want to try to buy a rental property? Well, we could give you a home equity line of credit, and you could be able to use that to purchase your other property from my home. And you know how I feel about that, because I remember mentioning
hold
about that.
I know how you feel, but let me say this. I ain't never seen a mortgage company call and say, can we offer you a HELOC or a line of equity? Okay.
But this is something they always do. Usually, like that first year, you'll be paying your mortgage, doing all stuff, and then if they see you have a good payment history, they start offering you lines of credit on your home, which I do not think is a good thing for people to do. I was explaining to somebody that, okay, so let's just say you're older. I retire and my house is paid off, right? And then I decide I'm going to take this equity line of credit or a loan against my house. Let's say I bought the house, it was 200,000, is now worth 600,000. I decided to take that 400,000 out and do whatever I want. I go on a 5-month cruise, whatever they do with the money. But I die before that loan is paid off. I feel you just robbed your heirs of that 400,000 because you're not able to pass that money. And I do know that they always talk about other people's money, but in reality, that equity is your money, is your people's money. It's your people's money in reality, because it was your blood, sweat, and tears that paid for that house at the time that you paid for it. And then the equity was what you should be leaving to the future of you.
Well, Yvette, this is an interesting thing. In my,
My unpopular opinion, because people do not feel the way I
I was
feel
a
about
license.
that.
I'm just going to tell you this. So most people don't know. People that are from my hometown know this, but I was a licensed realtor. What I have seen with, and it's more cultural than anything. What I have seen is we as African Americans, when we get a home, we stay in it. We rarely, like, we're there for 30 years. Whereas our counterparts are not. They're probably in that property for maybe about 5 years. They pulled that and they're moving on. And I think it depends on where you are in your life. And I know you mentioned being older. And so, do you not recommend any type of pulling out of equity versus, using some other funds? Because if this equity is just sitting there, it's like you're sitting on funds. You don't recommend using any of the equity, not even, it doesn't have to be 4. It could be 100 out of 5 out of a $600,000 home, because that's the example you use. You don't recommend any of that?
Only what you can pay back. And I give you 60 months. 60 months that you're going to be able to pay it back. Only what you can pay back. Now, I'm not opposed to somebody saying, I need a new roof. I'm going to take a home equity line of credit for $50,000. I'm going to get my roof done, get something done, something you're going to be able to pay back. Because remember, I told you this whole thing about having a house. I feel like it even shouldn't be, you pass away, your heirs shouldn't even be able to move in the house. That house should become a rental. It gets, you put it in the trust, it pays the people that's in your family, and it continues to pay the people in your family.
So, Yvette, how do we find you?
Well, I am on all platforms at Yvette Knows Best. On LinkedIn under my name, Yvette D Best. I like people to always connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be there a lot. On Facebook as well at Yvette D Best. But also we offer a free tax talk. It's 10 minutes. They can call our office at 770-461-4829. And they can get an appointment and we can talk about like our services, what we could do to help you. Sometimes people call because they have tax issues. So we do offer that time to talk about you, what your issues and what your options could be.
And your particular client, you're not just dealing with those who are W-2s, you're dealing with those who are business owners, real estate, travel. Talk a little bit about who your ideal client looks like.
Well, I work with mostly business owners who are also employees of their own corporation. So it is a host of fields, but it's just that travel agents, insurance agents, and real estate agents are just attracted to me. That makes up the bulk of my business. Also, usually I think it's because those are the industries where they receive a lot of 1099 income and don't realize they didn't prepare for the taxes that was involved. So usually they come to me because they have a tax problem and then they become clients. Because if we do any type of like offer and compromise situation, you basically locked into a 5-year deal with Yvette, because I'm not going to let you mess up the offer and compromise by going back into bad behaviors. So I ride them because I want you not to have a problem again. You only, like, I feel like you have a tax problem, you should only have it once. Once you have this one problem, you get over it, you should be doing everything that you can not to have problems again.
Absolutely. And an offer and compromise, for those that don't know.
Oh, that's when you will pay less than what you actually owe to the IRS, whether it's penalty abatement. Sometimes you may just can't afford to pay it. You may have done something like take money out of your retirement without federal withholding. It might be something whereas you forgot to add some income to your tax return, but your circumstances have changed where you might have been making a lot of money at that time. This time you may not be working at all or making less money, and we're able to negotiate you paying less than what you owe.
And just for the people, we are Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship. You are an entrepreneur. You mentioned a lot of your clients, they are employees of their own business, which is a very great situation. But just for those who are maybe just starting out in business, we've talked about women and investing. What advice and what's your last nuggets that you want to share?
Well, I would love all entrepreneurs to get a business savings account for their business. I really think that that's the first place your money should be going as you're collecting the funds, because you don't use your money every day, and your money should always be building money, because you're only going to be taking out money to make, do expenses, or you're going to be taking money out to pay payroll. So the money should immediately be, so your processor, whoever you use to get your money from, should be going to a savings automatically. Then you move it from the savings to an operating account, checking account, to do your expenses. So that way your money is always making money. Making sure that business owners are keeping receipts and have bookkeeping. You cannot get loans, lines of credit for your business without profit and loss statements. And you really don't know what your business is doing without them. You're able to see where you really are spending your money. You cannot Excel spreadsheet your way through underwriting for a business loan. You need profit and loss statements.
You cannot Excel your way.
You can't. You just can't. That's a thing. That's a thing.
That is so funny. All right, Yvette. Again, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship podcast. We had a lot of technical difficulties.
It's
Oh
okay.
my goodness. So I'll say this, the information, they must not want you to share it. but we made it through. What is the legacy you're leaving through entrepreneurship for you and your family?
Because I'm a first generation millionaire, so I want to be the first but not the last. That's all. I want this not to die with me. And the thing about us as a people, if you look at the legacy from the past, there was plenty of families, Black families, who one person made it to be a millionaire, but it never passed to the next generation. And I want to stop that. Because we all have family members. There's one member that made all the money and did all the things, but it never passed down to the next generation. And I want that to stop. I want us to stop becoming this first generation millionaire, and then there's not another millionaire for another 10 years after that.
Right. So how are you helping that?
With me, like I just said, with the first thing I did was the house that I'm in now that's paid off, I put it into a trust. The family, my kids already know that none of them can move to this house. When me and mom leave this house, it will become a rental that will pay the future of us. Also, just investing my money. Everything that I'm doing is really not for me. I invest money because I want it to pass to my heirs tax-free. So heavily putting money into a Roth, putting money into life insurance policies, just so that when that wealth pass, it can pass to them tax-free. Teaching them that, okay, so this is the blueprint and I need you to repeat it. Yeah. So one thing that I started this year was I got a PDF of The Richest Man in Babylon. That's like my Bible book of reading the book and instituting the steps from that book. And I have like a PDF of the book now. So I'm like, here, read this book. And I want you to put these simple steps, that's biblical concepts, into your life with you to build, just to be a better you financially. What else am I doing? Making sure that, like, when younger people come into the family, like I got 2 granddaughters, one is 8, one is 2, putting away money for them sooner than later, because they got compound interest where their money can grow. Right. And they can have their own money outright without having to contribute to it themselves. So doing that as well. So it's not opposed to for people to be taking and putting save. You start a savings account. Go back to old school when you used to get savings bonds and all of those things help for the future.
Right.
What we don't do. When people had kids, what was the first present that you usually bought? You usually gave a savings bond. Why did we stop doing that?
I don't know. A good question.
I mean, it's not a lot. It takes years for it to grow, but that kid is just a newborn. They don't need it then. But a savings bond could really help. When you need to buy some books for that first year, you send them away to college.
All right. Well, listen, you've heard it here. Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship with Yvette D. Best. Yvette, again, how do we find you?
Yvette knows best on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And if not, just Google Yvette D. Best and they'll all come up.
Yvette D. Best. Thank you again for joining us on Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship. This is Ariel Shaw, founder and president of Southern Crescent Women in Business. Thank you.
Again, this has been another episode of Women, Wealth, and Entrepreneurship with Ariel Shaw, MBA. Thank you for joining us. And if you have not, download our new theme song, Women in Business theme song by Miss Lacey. You've heard it here, and we are so excited that you've joined us. Thank you and have an amazing day.